All the master data and setups that a POS master requires is derived from the head office cloud database. Hence, it is recommended to finish all the setup in the head office cloud tenant before you start implementing the hybrid component server. We have also provided some configuration files in the HCS folder which can be downloaded from our LS Retail portal. Import these packages so that you will have the jobs, subjobs, and distribution locations created automatically, which will be required to push and pull data between databases of cloud, POS master, and POSs. Also ensure that the Web Service 2.0 is published and subscribed in Web Service Setup. Before we start our HCS setup on Azure, ensure that the prerequisites are made available. The prerequisite is to have an Azure account. This can be a service from the partner to the customer, or the customers can subscribe and own it. Next is the following resources that needs to be created in Azure before we begin the HCS installation. The first being resource group. This is a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. Second is network interface. It is used as an interconnection between a virtual machine and the underlying software network. Third being storage account. It provides a unique namespace in the form of URL in Azure. Container. It provides an easy way to run batch jobs without having to manage an environment and dependencies. The last requirement is virtual network. It is a kind of traditional network that you would operate in your own data center. Remember, these 5 resources needs to be created manually in Azure. The next prerequisite is LS Central and DD license file. It is required for installation of BC and data director in VM. This needs to be stored in a local folder from where the script will upload it into the container in Azure. The last prerequisite is to download the script and .json files from the LS Retail portal, which will be used to install HCS in Azure. So let's begin the HCS setup. Remember, the main objective of this is to simplify the setup of hybrid server where we automate the creation of server in Azure. Here we will be creating hybrid component server as a virtual machine in Azure. There are two options how the HCS VM can be installed in Azure. The first being the PowerShell option, which is easier as it allows to make changes in the variable parameter on the fly in the script. The second method is in Azure, which is deploy a custom template. This has a user-friendly interface which doesn't require any technical skills as against PowerShell scripting. This is the script that we have downloaded from the LS Retail portal. Let us understand the script in more detail before we jump into a live demo for the same. There are 4 steps involved in the HCS VM creation on Azure. The first being creation of SaaS token. The SaaS token is used so that the script can connect to the container where the license files are stored. So in section 1a, we are assigning the resource group, storage account, and container. The variables are shown in green in the script column, which will be created by the partners manually. This was mentioned in the prerequisite. Next section 1b is to get the context for the existing storage. Nothing will be changed in this, we will only run the script. Section 1c will generate the new SaaS token, and the last section 1d will retrieve the generated SaaS token, which will be used in step 3 for HCS VM creation. The next step is to upload the LS Central and DD license to the container in Azure from your local folder. In section 2a, we are uploading the LS Central license file. The variable in green is the path of local system where the license file is saved. Provide the same and then we will run the script. In section 2b, we are uploading the DD license file. Again, the variable in green is the path of local system where the license file is saved. Provide the same and then we will run the script. With this, the license file will be available in the container in Azure. Third step is the HCS VM creation on Azure. Here in section 3a, we will assign the VM name. The variable in green can be mentioned as required. Then in section 3b, we create the HCS VM using the script. We will discuss the script in detail in our live demo. Once the HCS VM creation script is executed, the process can take approximately 40 to 50 minutes. During this period, we can check the status of VM creation by mentioning the IP address in browser. Once the VM creation is completed, you will see a message as shown in this particular screenshot, which is installation finished successfully. Now let's jump into a demo session. Please ensure that you have the license files, script, and .json files in the local folder. Let me minimize the PPT. The first step is to open the PowerShell ISC. So we'll click on Start and look for PowerShell ISC. Run this as an administrator. The PowerShell ISC is open now. The next step is to open the script that was downloaded from LS Retail Portal. So to do that, we'll go into File, Open, mention the path, and click on the script and press Open. After this is done, let us connect the script with the Azure account. So we'll keep the cursor on line number 2 and say Run Selection. This will prompt for a user ID and password of Microsoft Azure. Let us provide that. Once this is connected, you will see that it will display the username, that is the account name here. Then it will show the subscription name. It will also show the tenant ID and the cloud environment, that is Azure Cloud. The next step is to import the modules. So let's run the line number 5. So we'll place the cursor over here and say Run Selection. Once this is done, the next step is to assign the resource group name, storage account, and container. As you can see, it's a variable. So we have a prerequisite that this needs to be created manually. So let us look for this. For that, we'll have to open the Azure portal. In the Azure portal, go to All Resources. There you can see the resource group name. Copy it. Let's go back to the script and paste it. The next is to provide the storage account name. Again, we'll go back to the Azure portal. Click on the storage account, copy the name, paste it here. Third requirement is to give the container name. So let's copy that as well from the portal. So inside the storage account, you have container, and there you can see the container name. Once this is done, we'll run the script by selecting the 3 lines. So the resource group, storage account, and container is assigned. The next step is to get the context for existing storage and generate a SaaS token. So let us run this script. So the line number 13 and 14 will do a selection and click on Run Selection. This will generate a SaaS token. The next step is to retrieve the generated token. For that, we will run the command in line number 17. So the SaaS token is retrieved. We'll make use of this in our step number 3. Now let's move on to our step number 2, uploading of LS Central license file to container. To begin with this, we need to mention the path where the file is saved in our local system. I have already done that. Once you have done this, we'll select this script from line number 20 to line number 28 and click on Run Selection again. This will upload the license file from your local system to the container. The next is to upload the DV license file. So again, we'll mention the path where this file is saved in our local system and then select the lines from line number 31 till line number 39 and click on Run Selection again. So the DD license file is also uploaded to the container. So let's go back to the Azure portal and check in the container whether we have those license files. So it has been uploaded. So this is the FLF and this is the LIC file. So now let's move on to our step number 3 to assign the VM name in section 3A. I have already given a virtual machine name. So let's run this command. It's executed. The next step is to create the VM itself. Here we have multiple variables. So the first variable is to provide the folder where the .json file is available. So I have mentioned the folder over here. It's under C and I have created a folder called connection. Then I need to define a password that I will be using to connect the VM. So I have defined a password like this over here. Then you need to define the name parameter I have mentioned here as the HCS deployment. After this, we need to come down and define the template file. Inside the connection, I have the JSON file and I have given the name for the JSON file as Azure deploy. So I have given that variable also here. So this is something that I had downloaded from the LS Retails portal. So moving down, we need to give the VM size based on the subscription that you have got for the HCS server. You can define that VM size over here. So I have mentioned as standard underscore D2 underscore V3. The next variable that we need to define is the network interface name. Let's take this from the Azure portal. So again, I'll go into Home, All Resources, and there I can find the network interface name. So let me copy this. I'll mention it here. The next thing I need to define is the IP addresses. So for that, again, I'll go into the Azure portal, click on the network interface, and here I will get the IP address. So let's copy it. I'll mention the IP address here, and same I'll do for the DNS name as well. After this, we need to define the URL, the username, and the password for the cloud instance that we have. So for that, let's log into the cloud instance, which is our head office in SaaS. Click on the Tell Me icon and look for Web Services. Then in the search icon, look for Retail Web Service. Move towards your right and copy the SOAP URL. Now let's go back to our PowerShell and paste this in the URL section. The next we require is the username and password. So I have created a user called Cloud Master. So let me mention that. And for the password, let's go back to the LS Central in Cloud. Click on the Tell Me icon. Look for users. Click on the Cloud Master. The password is the web service access key. If you are unable to see the web service access key in full, try reducing the screen size of your browser. Once you can see the whole password, copy it and paste it in the script. The final two requirement is the container name and the SaaS storage token. So let's copy it from above. We have the container name here. And the SaaS token was generated previously. So let's copy that as well. And we'll paste it here. Once all the variable parameters has been mentioned, let's run the script. So we will be selecting the lines from 45 down till line number 68 and then click on run selection. So it will first validate the JSON file. It will look for all the parameters mentioned in the JSON file, and then it will start creating the VM. Once the script has validated the template file, it will give a landing page where you can check the status of the VM creation in the Azure. So let's do that. Copy the URL, go into the browser and paste this URL and click enter. The landing page has opened. Let's click on the view installation status. Here you can see the details of the installation status. It might take around 40 to 50 minutes. Once this is completed, it will show you an successful intimation saying that the installation has been finished successfully. Since our installation has been completed, let's log into the VM on Azure. Mention the IP address, click on connect, enter the password. If we go into the control panel and then into the programs, you can see all the components that is required for an HCS server has been installed already. So let's minimize this VM and move on to our next method of VM installation, which is Azure. Let's check the steps in Azure method. Step number 1 is to open the Azure portal in browser. Click on More Services. Then on the Categories section, look for Others, and then look for Deploy a Custom Template. After you click on this, click on Build Your Own Template in the editor. Here, you need to upload the JSON file that you had downloaded from the LS Retail portal. Once you have uploaded, click on Save, and then you need to define the parameters like we did in the PowerShell script. All the parameters needs to be selected here manually. Once it is done, you can click on Review plus Create to move on to start the VM creation. We will not be demonstrating this section because it is self-explanatory. Hybrid Introduction had a target that deployment of POS should be with least manual intervention. And we are happy to announce that this is possible by using the update service. All the components that is needed to run a POS can be installed in one go, and it can stay up to date in sync with the SaaS environment using update service. So let us see how this is possible. We need to ensure that the distribution location for POSs that we are about to roll out is created in the head office and replicated to the POS master. Then we need to ensure that all the master data that the POSs will require is up to date in the POS master. After this, we can begin creating the installer. The first step is to open the PowerShell as an administrator in the HCS VM that is created in Azure. Then change your directory to the hybrid cloud components folder and run the command as shown in this particular screen, which is /new database package.ps1 import. After this command is run in PowerShell, the next step is to create the installer from update service server management. Here we will be creating the installer. This installer will have all the components that would be required for a POS machine to run. So let us see how this can be done. Let me minimize this PPT. We'll go into the HCS VM, click on Start, look for PowerShell ISE, run it as an administrator, look for the hybrid cloud component folder in C drive, copy the path, and let's change the directory. So cd and then the path. Once this is done, the next step is to import the package. So the command is /, and then the package name, which is new database package.ps1 -import -force. We are using the force command just to ensure that if there is any existing file, then it will be overwritten by this command. Hit enter. This will start importing the package. This will create a backup of your POS master database and create an update service package from it to use it in your POS installation. Once this is completed, let's create the installer. Open Microsoft Edge, write localhost 8030. This is the URL for update service server management. To create the installer, go to installer tab, click on the new installer, give it a name, give it a description, and click on submit. The next step is to add package to the installer. Look for the package. So this is our package. Click on submit. Once this is done, let's download the installer. Click on keep, then click on keep anyway. The installer is ready. Now you can copy this installer to any POS machine and run this. Just for demonstration purpose, I'll run this exe and this server itself. I'll click on install. You can give the database name here. And if there is any parameters that you would like to change, then you can do so. Once all the parameters has been mentioned, you can click on next. Here you can see that all the components that would be required by a POS machine will be installed using this installer. There will be no requirement of manual installation on the POS machines. Let's move back to our presentation now. So let us summarize our session. Head office in the cloud is our SaaS environment. We have the hybrid component server, which we saw how we can install using the two methods, which is the PowerShell method and the Azure method. We discussed about all the components that we have, such as the POS master, data director, and update service, and their usage, how it can keep the hybrid component server up to date in sync with the head office in the cloud. The data from the head office to the hybrid component server is replicated via DD web service. Further, this data is replicated to the POS machine using the DD, which is data director. POS machines can send their transactional data to the head office directly using the web service, or they can use the web replication mode. All back office users in the store will be connecting to the head office in the cloud. Head office users will also be connecting to the head office in the cloud. Let's talk about some recommendations. It is recommended that you update the HCS and HO in SaaS simultaneously. So HO and offline POS is always using the same version of LS Central. Some hardware specs for HCS. For test environment, you can use A series with 2 or 4 CPUs. RAM with a 8 GB. In production environment, you can use D series with 4 CPUs and a RAM capacity of 8 to 16 GB. In the POS side, for the resilient POS, you can use CPU as i5, RAM of 4 to 8 GB. We would prefer an SSD or a fast spindle HDD or HHD. For high volume POS, CPU i7, RAM of 8 GB, SSD drive. With this, we come to our end of this session. Thank you and enjoy your day.